Here we are looking at elasticity of demand. We're going to jump right in and do some calculus. We're not going to worry too much about any interpretations. We're just going to see how to do the calculations. So we have F of P, our demand equation, is negative 3/4 P plus 40. We're going to use this to plug into the formula to find elasticity of demand. So I'm going to highlight first that negative P. So E of P starts off with a negative P up top times the derivative of that demand equation. So I'm looking at the derivative of negative 3/4 P, which is going to be negative 3/4, our mini rule. Derivative of 16P would be 16, so derivative of negative 3/4 P is negative 3/4. And then the derivative of 40 is 0 because it's a constant. So there's our whole numerator, negative P times F prime of P, all over the original function F of P. So you have negative 3/4 P plus 40. We're going to multiply that top together first. So we have a negative times a negative, which is going to give us a positive 3/4 P over negative 3/4 P plus 40. And it says to simplify any complex fractions. So I want to get rid of the fraction in the top and the bottom. So I look at the denominator in my numerator. That's what's making it complex. I have a 4 there. So I'm going to multiply every single term by 4 in the top and the bottom. All terms get multiplied by 4. So in the top, I have 4s that cancel and I'm left with 3P. In the bottom, I have 4s that cancel. I'm left with the negative 3P. And then I have to remember to multiply these together as well. 4 times 40 is going to give me 160. So here is my E of P. There's my elasticity of demand equation. I can plug in any price to this and determine if that price would make the demand elastic, unitary, or inelastic by looking at the interpretations in this box. So in the next part, I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure out what type of demand we have when the price is set to be $10. So I'm going to go into part A and replace those P's with 10s. So I'm going to find E of 10. So in the top piece here, we have 3P. So we'll do 3 times 10 in parentheses, which is 30. In the bottom, we have negative 3 times 10 plus 160, plugging into the same equation. So negative 3 times 10 is negative 30. 160 minus 30 is going to give me 130. You can use your calculator. I like plugging in just the top and then just the bottom. I think it's a little bit easier than plugging in the whole thing, especially depending on the calculator you have. You can write this as a decimal or as a reduced fraction. These zeros would cancel. We have 3 over 13. Or you might be able to tell just by looking at 30 over 130 whether you have something elastic, inelastic, or unitary. So if 3 over 13 is bigger than 1, it's elastic, equal to 1, it's unitary, or less than 1, it's inelastic. If you do 30 divided by 130, or 3 over 13, you're going to get a decimal that is less than 1. So if our value is less than 1, the demand is going to be this third case. It is inelastic. So not your job in a math course to know where to go from there or what recommendations to make or if that's a good or bad thing for this company. We're just going to get the numbers and do the interpretation and not write a sentence or anything about it. The last part says, for what price, for what P is the demand unitary? So we want to remember from this box above that unitary means E of P, what we found in the first part, has to equal 1. So I'm taking this equation here for E of P and setting it equal to 1 to figure out what price would make it unitary. So let's do that here. Unitary means E of P equals 1. So we have 3P over negative 3P plus 160 has to equal 1. So we have to do some algebra. The nice part is there's a pattern to these. We just did an example where we said if you want to solve for a variable that's stuck in the denominator, first step is to get it out of the denominator. We're going to multiply both sides by negative 3P plus 160 just to be able to cross out that denominator. That way on the left, we're just left with our numerator, 3P, And on the right, 1 times anything, it's just going to say itself. So again, we're getting the numerator equals the denominator. There is a pattern to these. We want to solve for p, which means I'm going to put all the p's on one side and just the numbers on the other. So I'm going to add 3p to both sides. So we get 6p on the left equals 160. Now, what should my last step be to get p, the price, by itself? Yeah, we're going to divide both sides by 6. And we want to remember this is price, so we're going to round to 2 decimal places. So they should set the price at $26, and it's 0.6 repeating, so you could say 0.66 or 0.67 cents. I'd probably round that one up. But around $26 would make the demand unitary. Again, if you wanted to check this over, you could grab your calculator quick and plug it in to the top there, 3 times 26.67 over negative 3 times 26.67 plus 160, and you should get that it equals 1. It really makes the demand unitary.